Hi, I'm Rod Norman. In this continuing series for beginners, Beginner's Guide to Ceramics, I want to talk to you about fear. It's fear. It'd be interesting to know why fear plays any part in ceramics, but you may have experienced it already. You get started doing something, and then you get afraid that you're going to ruin it. You get afraid that you're not doing it right. You get afraid that people will laugh at it, right? But most importantly, you get afraid to do more, to be creative, to really try to break out and do something a little bit different, okay? So we're going to talk about that a little bit while I do a little bit of work here. All right, I'm going to make a bowl while we're talking. This way you get a lesson in, a continuing lesson in how to do this, as well as find out just what fear has to do with ceramics. Now I'm pounding this down until it's about 1/2 inch. Okay, now I'm going to do the usual thing I do, which is put down the guides, use my large roller, and start rolling this out. Okay, fear. What does fear have to do with ceramics? Okay, let's talk about the most important one, and that is the fear that you're going to make a mistake, a fear that you're going to screw up. This can be debilitating. You might not even notice that it's happening, but it's happening. It happens to every artist. It happens to painters. I'm a painter. I encounter it all the time. The hardest thing for me is to push myself outside of what I'm used to. And that's something that you always need to try to do. All right, so the fear that you're going to make a mistake, you're going to screw up, you're going to ruin a piece. Now remember, this is very workable clay. So if you ruin a piece, just smash it all back together again and start over. You won't make that mistake again. You learn from your mistakes. So the biggest lesson concerning fear is that there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. That's a way to learn. All right, the second thing fear can do to you is it can make you afraid to do something different. I was working on my very first efforts, and the way I was wedging my clay was to throw it down. And one time the slab broke around the edges, cracked around the edges, and it upset me, so I rolled it up and then started to wedge it by smashing it down on one end. And my teacher, who was my girlfriend at the time, she's a fantastic artist and a very good ceramicist. She shouted at me and stopped me before I picked it up to do it again. And we ended up with some really beautiful pieces. I made a sake set, and I made a few more vases. So that mistake, that fear that I had, that upset over my fear that I had ruined something, I had ruined a good slab, turned into a completely new way of looking at making things. And I want this dinnerware to have a certain uniformity. So right now I'm making the last of 4 bowls. I have 4 dinner plates, and I have a series of drinking vessels, and I'll be doing one more drinking vessel. Okay. Okay, so using my template, I've cut out a square. And very lightly, as I turn it around. One way to overcome fear, which is the fear that you're going to do something too much and it's going to turn out bad or it's going to leave a big mark, is to go slow and easy. I've mentioned this before. Patience, slow and easy. Don't force these. Take time. See how my fingers are slowly pushing that down? It keeps it from folding. Okay, so slow and easy and patience will get rid of a lot of your fear because you're not doing that much and you're much less likely to make a mistake. So now we're going to come to the part that will help you with your fear, and that is called sequencing. Sequencing is the order in which you do things that make your work end up coming out right. Okay, so in this case, the sequencing is getting it on the hump mold, then using your tool on it. We've applied the slip. We have our coil. We're going to score the coil along its length. We're going to start it, press it down, like that as you turn the wheel. Break it off just a little long. Now you start joining them. You can apply slip here if you want to. You don't have to. The clay is moist enough and pliable enough. Roll it around and look at it. And you press down. Make sure it's seated well. Now we begin the inside. Having done the inside, we're going to do the outside. We now have no fear of damaging the outside pattern because we're going to score around and make a clear way